Hi and welcome to the first fishery focused programme on Cadence Fly Fishing TV. You join me here at the wonderful Chatton Trout Fishery in Northumberland, where we're hoping to catch some rainbows and browns. The breeze is just starting to get up now, the sun's about to go behind a cloud, there's a few fish popping up, so come and join us and we'll see if we can get one or two. One of the things about this fishery is it's really well thought out, so it blends in with the wildlife all around it. So this little cut through that leads from one bay to another on Chattan Lake, all of this wild grass on either side is absolutely brilliant for the insect. So there's absolutely loads of terrestrial insects that get blown onto the lakes for the fish, which in turn gets a load of bird life going, and overall it's a really well thought out fishery. I'm fishing now with a little foam beetle on a size 16 hook, and now the breeze has got up, conditions are looking better. I'm just fishing a short line here and not leaving the fly in the water for too long, just short casts and trying to get that beetle to plop, wait for a few seconds, and if nothing comes up, gently lift off again. Couple of little false casts and just fish down the side. So just count 6, 7, 8 in your head. The fish normally react almost immediately with a dry fly, especially with this beetle, which does make a little bit of a plop. It's not working yet. It's a fly you can't really see. You've just got to believe it's floating in and around the surface. But when I lift off, I'm lifting off really carefully so as not to make the sucking noise that'll scare the fish. Just a gentle lift. Fly's turning over okay. I think what we'll do is we'll have a move on to Dunny Deer. This is Ross Lake. We'll go to Dunny and see if there's anything happening over there. Fish just come up there. You're probably aiming to cast just upwind of the fish, maybe give it a yard or two. Just assume, if you don't know, you assume that the fish are going to travel upwind. Just say I'm about to go into another lake and there's a couple of fish come up, so what we're fishing with here is just a little beetle. It's on a size 16 hook. And it's a dead basic dressing. It's literally just a piece of flat foam folded over the hook, and then underneath just some sparkle dubbing. I don't get too carried away with the tying of this. I've never seen beetles with gigantic legs sticking out here that you sometimes see. Most of the beetles you see are just little shells floating around in the water, size 16 down to 22 maybe. I start off with the fishing this with quite a wide foam, and it can sit fairly high in the water. Sometimes when it's high in the water, the fish can come, and when they're closing down, too much foam, it'll push away from the fish, so you can sometimes miss them, but sometimes they do want it pulled across the top. But I'll just use that as an experimentation first. But basically what will happen is, as the day goes on, I'll maybe just take the scissors to this and I'll just clip a little bit of foam off the edges every now and then, and that will just make the fly sit a little bit tighter into the film. It'll make it sink sometimes quite easily, and sometimes the fish like it when it's floated and then just starts to fall down. But I'm trying to get it on the balance between sinking and floating, but I will always start off with it fully floating. I'm going to start off here on Dunnydale Lake, which is at the top of the hill to the left when you come up the lodge, and then to the right is Ross Lake, which is over there, and then below us is Chatton Lake, and then over there is Redis Lake near the caravans, and that's the bait fishing lake. But we're going to start off here with an intermediate and a cat's whisker. It's a 1.5 inches per second, and this is a Rio Camo. I've just got a shortish leader on, about 12 foot, and the fly, the cat's whisker, it's dressed on an old Camazam B175 with a barb pressed down, because it's a barbless fishery. Normally I'll put a blackhead on a cat's whisker, but there's quite a lot of perch fry in this lake, so I've bulked up the thread with red thread, and the fly looks to be roughly the size of the perch fry that are in here, and the brownies seem to have really hit onto them. I've also got set up a Cadence 10 foot 5 weight with a Cadence weight forward 5 floating line. On that I've got about a 15 foot leader, and at the minute I've got a size 16 foam beetle, and then I've also got a Cadence 10 foot number 6 with a 16 foot leader and a really small jig hook, size 16 or 18, with a little pearly tungsten bead on and just a little tiny nymph. But just for now I'm fishing into this slight breeze that's just come up. Hopefully that's going to help us. So now there doesn't seem to be anything near the top, so I'll just let the fly sink with the line and count it down in my head to roughly 10. I'm always keeping the line tight, just doing a really slow figure of 8. I'm not really retrieving the line now. I'm just keeping it tight. So if anything takes it on the drop, I'll feel it. Now I'll start pulling the fly, and quite often that's when you get the take. If anything's following now and it's undecided, if you stop, let the fly drop half a foot and pull it again, sometimes the fish will come back and hammer it. One of the most important things when you're fishing at Chattan is to fish down the sides as well. Don't forget the sides. Short casting with floating lines and weighted nymphs or sinking lines along the side, you've literally got 12, 14 foot of water, at times just a rod length off the bank, so make sure you concentrate on the deeper water. But at the minute I'm just going above them, and eventually I'll start to think about going down deeper. Just hanging that fly. If you do like a fast retrieve, if you just put like a micro pause in it, that can be the real difference maker. As a fish come chasing after it without any commitment to take it, if you just put a tiny little pause in, like a microsecond, and start it again, the fish turns away and then comes lunging back as soon as the fly moves again. So fast, micro pause, fast. At the minute I'm concentrating on the upper layers, but there's nothing happening there yet. I don't know how this has happened. Fish is coming up and taking the indicator. That doesn't count. Oh no, it's got tangled up. It's had the fly and the indicator. Maybe it does count. Right, we've just had a change of location. We're still on Durrydale Lake, and we'll come to this far bank here because the wind's blowing into this, and it's quite a good spot, this. One of the great things about Chatton Trout Fishery is there's not really any hot spots. I could honestly fish anywhere on any lake and I'll be really happy. And that's one of the best things about it. A lot of fisheries, you have 3, 4, 5 hot spots and everywhere else is bad, but this place is, it's really fair for everybody. But when the wind's blowing onto this bank, I quite like giving this one a try. It's about 9 or 10 foot, about 10 foot off the bank, so it looks quite shallow on the side, but then it just goes straight down. And the big browns like to cruise along there. So I'm just trying an indicator, close in, casting a little bit further out and then just letting it drift towards me a little bit, just to see if there's anything about. We'll give this 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then if there's nothing happening, we'll have another move. Most of the time with rainbow trout, you'll know there's something there in the first few casts. Otherwise, give it a move. It's probably the biggest mistake most people make. It's just staying rooted to the same spot. And when you are in a spot, have a little cast about, left, right, straight out. Okay, so one of the things that you've probably seen us carrying around today is this rod carrier. It's just a homemade device, not homemade by me, but it's a really handy thing that stops you getting in tangles. You can get 3 and 4 and 2 rod carrying versions. It's quite lightweight because the wind's blowing it around there, but it keeps everything neat and tidy. It's just a bit of foam here, and the rod just lifts out of there and pops in. So when I lift that out, I then move this handle forward, and the rod's ready to go. So then to put it back in, handle just goes in there, press down in the foam, and that's secure. And then I can also, when I'm walking around, I would just hold this middle one and pick it up like that and carry it around. Underneath here, just got these nut and bolt system, and if you can see the rod here, that will allow the rod to be presented close to each other, or if you've got droppers and things on, you can spread it wide. If they're long droppers that are blowing around in the wind, it just stop you catching on that other rod there. And then that's just dead easy to tighten up. It's a very lightweight thing, but it's worth its weight in gold, to be honest. And they're locally made by some of the anglers around here. And they keep everything in order. There's 4 lakes on this complex. There's Chatton Lake. That was built in 2007. And then the second lake to be built was Ross Lake, which is that one over there. That was 2009. And then they built Dunedere in 2010. And then just in the lockdown and COVID, they built Redis Lake, which is that way towards the lodge. And that's the bait lake. So Chatton Lake, Ross Lake and Dunedere cover about 14 acres. There's well over a mile of bank for people to fish. Every single spot on the lake is really fair. You've got good deep water in front of you in most places. There are no real hot spots. Some fish better than others on certain days because of the wind, but it's a very fair fishery, and it wouldn't bother me wherever I fish, to be honest. The 4 lakes have all been man-made, but as you can see, they're really maturing nicely, with this one that I'm on now being 12 years old. I think this goes down to about 14, 15 foot over on the point there. But around the edges, all along here, all around there, pretty much the whole lake, you've got 9 or 10 foot within a rod length of the bank around the whole lake. So fish the margins, fish out in the middle, fish wherever, but the fish can be quite close in, especially the big browns. So now we're going to talk through a few flies that I would use here at Chattan. We'll start off with the basic buzzer pattern. These ones here are just tied on size 10 like heavy wire buzzer hooks. So this one here, it's a heavy wire hook, and it's also tied quite thin, and there's 4 or 5 layers of varnish on there, so that will help the fly drop through the water really quick without adding any additional bulk or anything. So this is a really good fly for anchoring the setup. So I would fish that on the point. Later in the season, that size 10 might become a size 14, maybe a 16, and then maybe fish slightly smaller on the droppers. So now at this time of year, you'd maybe be thinking about a size 16, 18 possibly, but this just shows up better on the camera. On the actual droppers themselves, I would probably use a finer wire hook to this, similar kind of dressing, maybe some white breathers on the top, and they won't sink as fast. If you think the fish on the surface, you would dispense with one of these and fish with a lighter wire hook on the point as well. But for like around about April, May kind of time, something like this on a heavy wire hook will be absolutely brilliant. Something that works well at Chattan, especially in the winter months, would be the old-fashioned cat's whisker. This one here is tied with red head, because there's a few perch fry knocking about at the minute, in Dunedere especially, so perch have got red fins. I would normally tie that with black, but yeah, the cat's whisker with a little bead chain eyes is a good all-rounder. This here's, it's called a mini snake. It's actually massive, but this is I think 7 centimeters long, and sometimes this can get a really aggressive reaction from the fish. It's quite a good big fish fly, this one. So if you fish this on quite a fast sinking line and fish it in the deeper water down the sides, you can fish this really fast, fish it really slow, and fish it everything in between. But there's a little bit of a difference with a snake compared to most flies, in that a fish will keep coming and hitting it and hitting it. It really does get an aggressive response. So I think we'll maybe give one of these a try later on as well. Nice fish, about 2 pound. And away he goes. Good. Right, we're fishing for a few minutes here, just trying this bay, which is like the main finger on Chattan Lake. If you look at the map, it's kind of like the right hand finger, so fish comes out in front of the camera. Underneath the camera is an inlet that comes from Ross Lake above, and you know, within 5 or 6 foot of the bank there's 10 foot of water, and it goes right down that far bank underneath the camera. It's still quite deep for the rest of the bay, but there's a deep channel on under the camera, and that goes down. If you just pan to the right, chappie, that goes down that bank and then cuts across towards Davy on the left, and the channel goes across the middle of the bay and then out towards the bottom left of the lake where it flows out. The outflow feeds into the River Till, and because the River Till flows into the River Tweed, even though we're in England, it means that you don't need a rod licence to fish at Chattan, which is quite a unique thing, I think. So anyone who just fishes once or twice a year, this is an ideal place to come. Fish. It's another fish about 2 pound. He's taking that right down by the edge of the weed there. Right where it's like an avenue of weed comes down, and then it drops straight off into about 6 foot. And he's taking that right on he must have been swimming along the edge of the weed. Looks like a nice fish. This bait can be quite good. It's saving our bait in the day, isn't it? He's just hooked in the side as well. Maybe. Nice fish. Okay, so we've got this fella here. Just let this one go. That's a nice one. Lovely Chattan fish, about 2.5 pound. And he's away great. Perfect. Anyway, just to say, we can't really keep the fish out of the water for too long because of the warm weather that's just been around. So apologies if you're not seeing enough of the fish, but we want to get them back as quick as possible. And they're going back fine. The water's cooling down quite nicely now, actually. So the fish are going back fine. I just don't want to keep them out of the water for too long. Hopefully we can get another one here. Just caught this on the top now, on a shipman's buzzer. Chappie asking us to do a casting thing behind some photo thing. This is taking the shipmans off the top, never even brought a net. Cheers on that, thank you very much, mate. Been told there's a fish or two just on the other side of the bush by the rock. Davey Parker's told us he's kitted us out with a sparkler fly. I'm going to count it down to 20 on a die 5. We'll see if we can pick up 1 or 2 fish at the end here. It's been really hard going, so fingers crossed we can get another one. It's a bit more overcast, everything just feels much better now. I've had about 4 casts with this die 5 and a sparkler, Davey's sparkler, and I've had 2 followers straight away coming onto the hang, but not quite committed to it, but it's interest. Feel quite confident. See if we can get one. But the rod, which is the 9-foot 9/8 weight, is really pushing that die 5 out really well, so it's passed the test there. So counting down to about 20, keeping the line tight all the time, not really retrieving, just figure of 8 to keep everything straight. That's about 20. Davey was saying stop about halfway through, and they hit you on the pull back the second time you get it moving. Nothing there, but when you're lifting off, just let that thing hang in the water, and they will come and have a look at it. Anyway, when you're in a small water fishery, if ever you get a good wind, try to go to where the wind's blowing if you're struggling to catch anything. Wherever the waves are the biggest, towards the corner that's got the biggest waves, you'll generally find the freshly stocked fish there. Because the wind's blowing the wrong way around for me here as a right-handed caster, I'm just basically turning round and facing the wrong way while I'm casting. That keeps the fly line away from my face. If I was casting right-handed now, that fly line would be blown into my face, and I don't want that sparkler as an earring. I'm just mixing up the different styles of retrieves here. There's been bits and bobs of interest. I fancy we might get one. So that fly had literally just hit. I was just stripping to get in touch with the fly and the fish locked up. It's quite a powerful rod this, so you can get the fish in quite quickly. That's fantastic. Oh, spit it out in the net. Once again, there's deep water straight off here. The deep water especially is just to the left of where Chappie is with the camera, but it shallows up in the side here and then drops off again. I think probably between the bush just behind Chappie and me, I would have said it's the deepest part of the lake, just out from there. I think, I'll probably get told I'm wrong, but I think it goes to 18 foot. And that's where the outflow, just over there, goes into the River Till over there. We're really getting the best of the conditions now. I could stay here all night now. The fish are having a little go. After the conditions we started in this morning, it's kind of got better and better as the day has gone on. And we're finished with a semi-respectable total. I know Owen was saying before that he'd had takes deep down, die 5, really slowly pulling it back, so he was fishing with a little blob though. I think a lot of times with trout fishing, people think they have to be pulling it back at a rate of knots, but the fish will take it quite confidently when it's really slow as well. So mix it up. If nothing's happening, slow it right down. If you're slowing it down, just put in a quick couple of moves. It's almost like a dead fish or a dying fish. Oh, hang on, what we got here then? That was right. I think the fly was down near the bottom and I speeded that right up, and it's just hit it when I've really increased the retrieve speed. So, once again, this nearly made a mess of that. That's a nicely conditioned fish. It's decided it's going to go back itself. Turn left, mate. That's it. Doesn't know where he's going, but he's all right. I think I've probably got too long a leader on. Oopsie daisy. That wasn't going at me. Try dead slow. There's one. Basically just, well, it probably wasn't even dropping there, it was probably just hanging in the water, but For some reason this fish isn't fighting, I don't know why. Looks like a nice fish. That's a good way to end the session here. About 2.5 pound. Taking on the sparkler that Davey gave us. Slow retrieve. Just locked up just after the start of the retrieve. Great fish to finish. Thanks very much for watching and hopefully see you next time. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the rods that I've chosen to fish with today. When I'm fishing a Stillwater lake, I like to have one lure rod with a sinking line of some kind on it. So that would tend to be the 8 weight. So that gives you options in hot weather to get the flies down to the fish when they're deeper in cooler water, but also in the winter when they're deeper as well. So, you know, you won't always fish with a sinking line, but it's an option you really need to have all the time. So I always go with the 9'9" 8 weight that Stevie Munn has designed. I think he had it in mind for maybe sea trout on the Irish rivers to start with, but it's really become a serious tool for the Stillwaters, in particular casting the sinking lines, the Airflow Die 3, Die 5. This year's a Rio Camo. It's the first time I've actually tried this line with a rod because we just want to see how well each line goes with the rod that we don't actually make. And I've got to say, this really does go well. It's so slick and it flies through the rings. You can cast the full line fairly easily. But yeah, this is the 8 weight, and moving over, I tend to like to fish with a 10-foot 5 weight for dry flies, because I know a lot of people would like to fish a 7 weight and a 6 weight, but we can use really small flies down to size 20, sometimes with fine wire, so you want to have some protection. And this 5 weight rod at 10 foot is a really good rod at cushioning the fish when they take and also when you're playing them. But that extra length over a conventional 5 weight rod of say 9 foot, that extra foot really helps you play the fish in, and I haven't actually had any problems bringing in fish on Stillwaters, which can be quite big. One of the things that you'll notice as well with our range of stuff is not so much with a sinking line, because we don't make that one, but with these two, which are Cadence floating lines, these have been designed by Stevie alongside the rods, so they're all colour coded. So this is the 6 weight here, and you can see the back running line there is grey. That's the backing in behind it, but that's grey running line. It's always going to be this sage tip on all of the floating fly lines. We only do floating fly lines. But the sage tip will carry on and you'll go into the running line. Grey is a 6 weight, and then here for the 5 weight, I don't know if Chappie can see that, but that is a red running line. So I know that that's a 5 weight straight out the bag. I don't have to write anything down, although I do write things down on the spool. This rod here, which is one of the old demo ones, this is a 10-foot 6 weight, which I tend to like to fish for buzzers, nymphing kind of thing. It's similar to the 5 weight, and it cushions the fish really well, but it just allows you to cast a little bit further. The reels themselves are all aluminium bar stock, and the drags on them are absolutely phenomenal, so there's no start-up inertia. The fish just run and it's gone. You don't have to, some reels, like the old reels where you'd have to pull it like that to get the drag going, these just go straight off. As soon as the fish moves, it's gone. So you'll land more fish that way. I think they're really nice, well presented. And at the moment, each of these reels is being given away with a spare spool, so every reel you buy, you get the spool with it. It's also worth pointing out with the rods that to start off with, we want to get fly lines out on the market as well. So what we're doing is, for every rod that you buy, you will also get the fly line that matches it free of charge. So anybody that says it's a gimmick when a manufacturer tells you that the line has been designed in conjunction with a rod, well, it has, and we're just giving you the line. So hopefully that's a good little run through of the rod so far. I think another couple of things, we've got the standard stuff like line-up guides. It's a fairly subtle design, which I really like. There's no jewellery all over it. It's nice and straightforward, but you know, the real secret is the carbon. The carbon is the lightest weight, strongest carbon that you can have on the market today, and it's really worth a try. So I think the best thing you can do is get in touch with Cadence, send us a message via any of the Facebook platforms, YouTube, phone or anything like that, and we'll get in touch and we can set up a demo, bring it to your fishery. You can have open days at fisheries. Tomorrow we've got one at Chattan, which is going to be too late for this video, but it's going to be a chance where people can come and try the rods out for themselves. There's no obligation to buy, just come and try them. And if you like them, buy one, get the free line and get the free spool. Okay? Another point to make as well here is that I regularly fish here at Chattan most weekends, so if you do see us on the bank, please come up and say hello, and I'll be pleased to let you have a try of the rods, the lines, the reels, whatever. If I haven't got the weighted rod that you want to try, I'm sure I'll have it in the car, or contact us, send us a private message, or contact the fishery direct and they can arrange for that, no problem. They can just send me a message and I'll bring the rod the following week, whatever. For further details as well, if you want to buy a rod, you can go straight to the Cadence website, and that's available online at cadencefishing.co.uk.